we talk a lot about the biggest lesson and the takeaway from Mississippi State and the Entrepreneurship Center there is to be teachable. I knew nothing about entrepreneurship really going into that. And had we not learned that lesson then, when that mom reached out and told us about her son and the bath experience, we wouldn't have pivoted and started making children's toys, and Glow Pals wouldn't be a thing. And so it's really important to be teachable and make sure you're not the smartest person in the room.
You're listening to the Good for Business podcast, where we feature interviews, tips, and tricks from owners, operators, and innovators throughout Mississippi and around the world. And now, your host, Colin Krieger. Hey guys, welcome to this week's show. My special guest this week is the CEO, CFO, CO, everything of Glow, the little cubes over in Starkville, Hagan Walker. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're going to start the show as always with your 1-minute pedigree. Who are you? Where are you from? Where do you live now?
Absolutely. So Hagan Walker, live in Starkville, Mississippi, and in college we started a company called Glow. We make glow cubes and glow pals, light up sensory toys and drink cubes. And so that's a little bit of my background.
Okay, well, let's go straight to the origin story.
Okay.
You're 32 years old now, correct?
32.
Where's 12, 13-year-old Hagan? You working? You cutting grass, washing cars? What are you doing?
Man, I can even go earlier. So
Okay.
I graduated in electrical engineering from Mississippi State, and my parents always joke at the age of 2, I stuck a key into an outlet and got shocked and still have a scar on my hand. And so
nice.
they said that from that age, they knew I was going to do something in the electrical field.
Well,
So
that's the first time you glowed.
yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one before. So yeah, I guess from a young age, I've always loved to kind of explore and tinker and taking apart aunt and uncle's VCRs along the way and hear those stories a lot. But into kind of high school and stuff, I did actually have a little computer services business on the side. It was actually the second largest computer service company in the Golden Triangle at the time. So I would get out of school, a little early and go pick up computers and work on them on the weekends and take them back to customers, next day and stuff like that. So
There you go. So
yeah.
that was your main job, like in high school and stuff?
That was my main job in high school, and then I had some others before we started Glow in college. I actually worked for Tesla Motors my senior year of college.
Oh, really? Was that part of the program at the college?
No, I'm actually the first. I was the first student to get an internship in the state of Mississippi with Tesla, and so I actually helped work on the electromechanical team and helped design some of the stuff for the Falcon wing doors on Model X. So those are the back doors that kind of lift up, you know. So I've kind of been all around.
Were your parents engineers or anything, or were you just...
No. My dad studied business and was manager for Lowe's for a long time. So
Okay.
if you're from the Columbus area, you might remember Jim Walker. My family's still here, Bill Walker and Lucy Walker over at Brickerton. And
Well, see, here we go. We were talking a story ahead of time about how I never make the connections, and of course that makes sense. So.
Yeah. So small world. And then no, my mom has always been in sales, and so I don't really know where I got the bug from, except for sticking a key in an outlet, I guess.
There you go. So we'll just jump into Glow. So was this part of the incubator, the entrepreneurship center over there, or were you just doing something on the side and went to them? Where's the first?
Yeah, so the story goes, a friend of mine at the time was studying graphic design, and their professor gave them a task. They had to create a conceptual company that drew your eye to a product. And then they were all given some random object, and Kaylee was given a teacup. And so she said, well, if I can make this tea light up, then I'll get an A. And draws your eye to the product, we'll, get an A. And so we knew each other from EcoCar, which is another program at Mississippi State. And she came to me and was like, how can we do this? And so we worked on some early prototypes, got something for her classroom project, and her teacher loved it so much that she sent us to the Entrepreneurship Center. About a week after that was what they call Entrepreneurship Week, where you can win up to like $20,000 in funding for your startup. And we won first place. That was my senior year. Had never done anything like that before, been studying electrical engineering. And so that was the summer. I went off to Tesla. And so during the days, we'd work on cars at Tesla. And at night, I had a 3D printer that Mississippi State gave us. And we'd mock up little prototypes of cubes. I'd print them on that printer in the closet of the house that we were renting. and we'd ship those back to Kaylee to present.
Which Tesla factory? Where were you?
I was actually in Palo Alto, so I was
Oh
at
wow, the real one.
HQ.
The
Yeah,
real one.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, that's kind of how we started. And we started with the drink cubes. We were in college, and you know, we thought that was an easier demographic to sell to at the time, right?
Well, I remember the day I met you. I was with the Golden Triangle Leadership thing, which is where the Chamber of Commerce got together, and they'd have like 16
Yeah.
adults, and we were you like toured the newspaper like you were still in fourth grade, and go to PACCAR and go to Airbus and all this stuff. And one of the stops was, I think Sid Salter gave us a good talk, and then it was seeing Jeffrey, and I guess Eric was involved too at the
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship Center for Mississippi State, and y'all were there.
Yeah.
And y'all were, it was pretty early on. I think it was
Yeah.
8 or 9 years ago, because Vimo, you showed us the cubes. You gave us some sample cubes that looked like they were in Ziploc bags, which I still have mine.
I love
I
that.
should have brought that to get autographed, but I'll do it later. And y'all were talking about, hey, was it the Academy Awards or Grammys?
Yeah, we went to a pre-show for the Academy Awards and got to meet a few different celebrities.
Was that
and
a
stuff.
the big break, or just a break of many things?
I think a break. It was really cool to get to go. And you know, it gave some endorsements and stuff to the company at that time. But really, what the big break was is listening to your customer. And so, right after we got back from that, we actually had a mom reach out, and she had found one of our glow cubes at a restaurant and took it home and put it in the tub for her son that had autism. And it was the first time in months that little Bishop got in the tub without crying, because it helped redirect his senses to something more positive. And she reached out and told us that story. And that was in 2018. And so there's a third founder, Anna Barker, and she is a creative genius. Anna said, you know, we really should think about doing something in the toy space. I mean, we really need to listen to this. And so we did. We started the Glow Pals line in 2018, selling light up children's sensory toys, mainly for bathtubs and sensory bins and stuff like that. And then 2019 COVID hit. And so all the bars and restaurants we were selling to for the Glow Cube side, you really kind of took a nosedive. And then everyone was at home trying to figure out how to entertain their children while they're on a Zoom call for work in the midst of COVID. And Glow Pals, you know, went through the roof. And that's really where our success has been to today. That makes up probably 90% of our revenue. And just last year, domestically, we sold over 1.2 million products. So it's grown a lot.
And is it still a privately held company? Is it still y'all?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just
Yep.
the three y'all, or investors or anything like that?
Yeah, we do have actually Mississippi State's really good about this. And this speaks to Eric Hill and Jeffrey Rupp, which you mentioned earlier. Mississippi State has its own angel network of alums and other friends of the university that will invest in some of these small businesses. So they were the ones that really helped us get off the ground.
I remember the moment y'all told the story. I asked you later. I'm like, y'all gotten all your money yet? And I think you had made just done Series B or something. I was like, this is a great idea, because I've seen over time, and I haven't followed up to see what y'all have actually done. But like you had discussed, I think, like, you know, even people that day were like, what about fishing lures? And you're like that. I'm like, what about testing for roofies and drinks? And like, you know, y'all are just scribbling. How far has it grown beyond that, or is it just focused on the toys?
No, it's grown a lot. So we're actually releasing a book series in September. So we actually just got a new patent on it's nerdy, but an inductive book. So basically what it is, like your charger, wireless charging, we've incorporated LEDs into a book, and when you hover over them with this little magic magnifier, as we call it, parts of the children's book light up. And so we have a lot of cool stuff that's coming out. We have these little sensory jars, but we do still sell a ton of our little liquid activated cubes. And we've been focused a lot on, you know, trying to do some more things here stateside. And so you actually can now go online and customize your own cubes, and we print them right over in Starkville and pack them up there and ship them out. So
can you speak, and this could be a long question here, a long answer, to the importance of the Entrepreneurship Center? Because somebody could have had an idea like yours and not gotten a utility patent, or not gotten the right patent, or not, you know, been able to reach out for distribution, or in a little while we'll talk about production.
sure.
But how important was I know Eric and Jeffrey, so I'm going to say them.
Yeah.
Or Jeff. But yeah, the entrepreneurship and molding y'all or pushing you in that direction.
Well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So I think what they do is huge. And at the end of the day, I mean, I get it's a novelty item, right? We're talking about light up drink cubes. I mean, you know, it sounds kind of dumb, in some ways. But there's a lot of good ideas out there, and I think if someone's passionate about something as simple as a light up cube, which there's a lot of complexity behind the scenes, but you take something like that to something that could be a whole lot more advantageous for humankind, and they're the people that will get behind you and really work to make that become a reality. And I think that is really, really important, because when you start out with something, you don't always see that. You talk to your friends and it might be a little bit of an echo chamber where they say, this is the greatest idea ever, go with it. But what you really need is some feedback, but feedback that also encourages you to make changes, to continue on. We talk a lot about the biggest lesson and the takeaway from Mississippi State and the Entrepreneurship Center there is to be teachable. I knew nothing about entrepreneurship really going into that. And had we not learned that lesson then, when that mom reached out and told us about her son and the bath experience, we wouldn't have pivoted and started making children's toys, and Glow Pals wouldn't be a thing. And so it's really important to be teachable and make sure you're not the smartest person in the room.
No, yeah, 'cause you're not going to learn. If you're not learning, you're dying. I mean,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
especially in y'all's business. So COVID hit pretty hard. Coming out of COVID, you said it was mainly, you said people had just gone on to the toys. So you start playing with toys more, right?
Yeah. So yeah, and to that, it was a crazy time, but there's a New York Times, he's the chief economic correspondent for the New York Times, Peter Goodman, actually wrote a story about us. It debuted about a year and a half ago, called "How the World Ran Out of Everything," and Glow is the thread through that whole entire book. So if you're curious about kind of how the supply chain broke down in the midst of COVID, that would be a cool book to check out.
Has the pivot from that onto the supply chain, where the supply chain, relatively got fixed late last year, and then all of a sudden now we start working in a tariff. So are the tariffs affecting y'all directly?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because there's some things y'all have that you're not going to sell a glow cube for less than $50 if you made it in Alabama.
Yeah,
am I correct?
You are. It's very difficult. I was actually in DC about a month ago, representing the Toy Association, meeting with members on both sides of the aisle, just trying to explain some of the difficulties that come with these very abrupt changes and how that can affect businesses. And for us, yeah, actually yesterday I paid a $32,000 bill to Customs and Border Protection for tariffs on imports. And that's not, everyone's like, well, just don't make stuff overseas. Well, subcomponents can come from overseas. Equipment, we invested a lot in some equipment that we fully own that is outside of the US. And to bring that back, we're going to get charged a 30% tariff on it. And so on one side, you hear, we'll bring it back and start production here. And on the other side, you're a small business that has cash flow as a concern. We're very seasonal. And it's okay, well, I'm going to get a $300,000 bill for doing that. Or I can send that equipment over to Cambodia for free and hire 100 people over there, and that's a hard decision because it really could be the lifeblood of the company. And, those are the tough things that I think people pick up, even this water bottle or this coaster, and, don't really understand where everything's made that they handle every day.
Yeah, and then the less people, one thing a big people miss in the supply chain and the tariff issue is that the less stuff you're ordering, the higher cost it goes on top of that. Meaning if they're not making, the same products or the same, you have non-toxic stuff, obviously, for almost all your products or almost all your products.
All of them.
So you have non-toxic mechanical products coming in that have to be assembled, even if part of that happened here. Well, if you're ordering $500,000 less and other companies that are in related fields are ordering less, then it costs even more.
Sure.
And then the oil costs more and the labor costs more. And right now, the American public's definitely an inflection point since probably the last time the stock market took a pop in May. We saw it in real estate across the country. The third time the stock market in 6 months drops, people just went, whoa.
Yeah.
And the average home buyer right now is a retiree, and they're just like, hold on.
Sure.
And then they're like me, or they finally go to Kroger instead of ordering and see that a 12-pack of Coke costs $10. And that happens. I'm sure my kids are a little old, but I'm sure that would happen in the toy space. And I know at tight margin places like restaurants and bars.
Yeah, so the toy industry is highly seasonal. So Q4 is the biggest time of year. They're estimating about 400,000 people will lose their jobs in January just in the toy industry, based on some of the tariff impacts. And, don't get me wrong, I'm a Mississippi boy. I would love to bring more, industry back to the States, but we've got to realize that this happened over a long period of time, really 80s, the 90s, NAFTA. There's all of these things that contributed to you drive from here to Starkville or any other small town, Oklahoma, and you see all these shuttered factories. That didn't happen overnight. And so what happened was you lose those, and then you lose the generation that had the knowledge to make those things. And to bring that back is difficult, right? You not only need the equipment, you need the experience. And I think that I totally agree that there should be a way over time that you work to try to bring maybe some more production back, but it will not happen overnight. And so what you see companies do, big and small, Apple moves things from China to India, right?
Yeah.
But they're not coming back to the US.
Well, and I've seen these challenges. Airbus just laid off some people here. I've talked to my friends at the steel, not just Mississippi Steel Processing, but the steel mill, the new aluminum mill.
Yeah,
I'm like, how do the tariffs affect you? And they're like, to a certain point, it's incredible, but we can only make so much stuff.
that's right.
And he goes, then we talk about not having enough trucks and not having enough truck drivers. And
Yeah,
he goes, even if we're overloaded with stuff, we can't get, some of the side products and tertiary products that go into it.
that's right.
And we have the canning company that was supposed to be there day one with the aluminum mill
Can't get
doesn't want to come because they can't get like the top rings made in overseas.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
people don't realize, like, especially when you have a tariff this week and not next week and this week and that, like, you've got to order toys for Christmas pretty soon. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a 2-week lead time to send
Yeah.
something across the ocean over here. And again, I always say the same people are so much for it. Just it'd be fine if it was over time. And
Yeah, I agree with that. But what happens in this situation? We are thankful to have a lot of distributors around the world, and so what we have the ability to do, we can fulfill from Starkville, or we can fulfill from China. And what we've done, well, businesses look for certainty, right? And so we have actually scaled back on our releases of what's going to be imported into the U.S., and we are now putting Europe first instead of America first.
yeah,
We're going after a different market. And the reason why is there's stability there. There's no tariffs right now. But what we're concerned about, even importing raw materials and doing assembly, hiring workers here in Mississippi, is if the tariffs change while you're on the water, you could be assessed with a different importation fee from customs, right? And so what a lot of businesses are doing are saying, I'm not risking it. There's these 90-day reprieves. Well, we're about to come up on the first 90-day ones with some of the Asian countries. And so shipments are actually at an all-time low right now because no one wants to import and then get hit with 145% tariff.
And i.e., that's why PACCAR laid off 52 people, is because when the truck drivers are expecting a 4-month stoppage from now to Christmas, essentially on new truck drivers
Yeah.
and new trucks. And even if it happens, there'll be a whiplash,
Sure.
which will still take 18 months. So like
Yeah.
PACCAR normally on their quarterly performance is like, we're retooling, we're doing this. They're still building their new edition.
Yeah.
But usually they're like, we expect, the 52 employees, we expect 20 back in the next 60 days
Yeah.
and the rest back within a year. Well, this time they literally were like, we don't know. And
Yeah.
the same thing. Guess where they're building more truck engines? Is their overseas plant over there?
That's right.
And again, if same thing, the uncertainty came up. I think the article I read 21 times in their 3-page quarterly report. Uncertainty, 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 and not
Yeah.
about the general economy. They
Sure.
just meant the tariffs.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough thing because a lot of times people hear you're as direct as we get in the market because, for most people, I think you're a little more reachable or tangible than PACCAR. PACCAR is a big company that has never lost money in 71 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you imagine you take that and they have a treasure trove of cash, and then you take the small mom and pop businesses that are also getting affected by some of this, right? And so it's one of those that you see this on main streets. You see it that is kind of propagating through, and we have started to see that actually. Our biggest buyers of our toys are small mom and pop toy stores and gift shops across the USA, and our net term customers, the now on average are paying between 1 to 3 weeks behind their net term. So you're seeing what that's telling me is we're seeing that in real time, that these smaller stores are struggling, and we're hearing that they're getting hit with higher costs on products because people pass tariffs through.
Yeah.
And so, we might have had a really great tax break depending on what side you're on from the big beautiful bill, but then you also in the middle of the night snuck through a 30% tax on the American people. So
yeah, and it's not, and that tax break isn't enough for you to move $2 million of equipment here that, like you said, is 200 and another
Yeah.
600,000 in taxes on it,
Yeah. So I just, it doesn't really matter where you stand when you start to see people in your community on either side get affected. It's hard to see that.
Yeah, and they've been long term. So it's been, oh my goodness, almost over 30 years since I was in college and took economics. But back then they talked about, and I've talked to some friends who are big time buyers for commodity buyers in the food space. And they used to say you looked at Cisco's quarterly report, and their quarterly report, it said how long their average sub $2 million a year restaurant. So not Zachary's and Obie's,
Sure.
but basically everybody else.
Yeah.
How far behind are they? Because they're all automatically given 45 days credit, and they start hitting 90, and right now it's over 100.
Oh, wow.
Which means it doesn't mean there's a restaurant collapse. But just like you said, the commodities are based on what the restaurants are going to order 3 months from now. So the Chicago commodity market's like, people, that's how they know people are spending at restaurants. They don't need to wait till the end of the fiscal year in October for the National Restaurant Association to go, hey, restaurant sales are down. They're going, we're seeing insurance cancellations for restaurant from statewide, like the Mississippi Restaurant Association has like a liability thing, and that's behind. And Cisco's guys are getting paid further and further behind, just like you said, like, oh, we need a little more time. And you're like, whereas in a normal, not just the tariff, just even a recession, which we obviously are either coming out of or in, they pay late, but that might be indicative of like, these guys are going under.
Yeah.
And then like now when they're paying late, but it's just the world.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you're getting paid later, and then you're getting less income tax. And
people need consistency. That's what gives stability to the markets, right? And so in our situation, you see these things getting paid late or creeping up to 90 days past due. And then we start to worry, right? And so then we react and start clamping down on needing payment sooner. And then, it's a whole cycle, right? And so
you can't pay the boat that's coming. And I'm pretty sure the Borders and Customs will give you the 28 days in dock, and that's all you get, right? Like they want you gone.
Absolutely.
Or the Port of Los Angeles wants you off the boat and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I know they have fees and stuff for that.
Yeah.
Is there anything other? That's pretty impressive. So what was the organization you were lobbying for?
The Toy Association.
Okay.
So,
does it have a cool name, or is it just the Toy Association?
That's it.
Come on, they got that's a room full of ideas.
I know.
Like, you think they could think it'd be like Woody, but some an acronym for the...
Yeah, they need to do that. That'd be really cool.
I'll make some calls.
Yeah, please do.
So.
It was cool though, because you were there with the leaders of Hasbro and Mattel all the way down to small companies like ours. And I really appreciate that organization because they really are trying to make sure they have a holistic view of what they're trying to present to Congress. And I think that's important that you have organizations like that. I'm sure realtors have
the real estate's the biggest lobbying organization in the country. It doesn't always work because depending on what day of the week it is, Donald Trump may hate realtors. He's a real estate guy, but he's not a realtor guy.
That's right. Yeah.
And so like I've always said, if he's buying a house, he'd probably try to go around the realtor if he could. So they're a little, and they, it's tough to, you never had that sort of situation where one person is really pushing the stuff.
Sure.
In my formative years in the late 1990s, like the Fed listened to what the president said.
Yeah.
And Congress decided tariffs, like you weren't supposed to touch that.
That's
and he's
right.
obviously pushing the limits and will either reap the benefits or pay the price of that.
Yeah.
It's just, I think people right now, we're still in this little gray area where obviously people, credit cards are getting there. They've been at an all-time high, but just proportionally.
Yeah.
Like I told my poor daughter who's going to college, I'm like, you are literally going to college the worst year. It's going to be the highest it's ever going to cost, and be probably the lowest value because the people you're going to be working for are going to care about your skill set. I've had 3 people in a row who spoke on our podcast about not having a college degree and about how it hadn't affected them at all because of their skill set.
Sure. Absolutely.
Did you finish with a degree in engineering?
Electrical engineering.
Yeah. So you got something to fall back on.
Yeah.
You've been to Tesla, that sort of thing. It works on. So day to day. So y'all have a warehouse and a shop in Starkville?
We do, yeah. So we have about a 50,000 square foot warehouse that fulfills larger orders for like the Walmarts and Targets of the world. And then we also renovated the old Rex Theater over on Main Street. So that was a $1.4 million renovation.
Yeah, so Hobie, that was at Hobie's old place?
No, this is the
Hobie's
one.
the other one, yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, this is right down the road. But it's really cool inside. It kind of feels like a casino though, because you don't get any light in the, outside light, sunshine in the back part. So you'll be up there till 7 o'clock some nights and be like, man, like it's really dark outside now. But it's cool. It's cool. If you're ever in Starkville, you need to come see it.
And how many people work at the warehouse?
So in Starkville, we have a team of about 24, and the team total is almost to 40 throughout the U.S. So we have someone as far away as Portland that helps with some of the logistics inbound stuff, and someone on the other coast in South Carolina that's our...
Is it assembly or packaging, or what is it?
We do both. So we do all of our printing on cubes here in the U.S. We do all of our packaging and assembly and shipping for any U.S. customers out of Starkville.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's something. The money comes home one way or the other.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, and yeah, we hire locally and have great health insurance and all the good things. We really try to take care of our employees.
And so you've brought Jeff's on board with y'all right now too. Is Eric on board too, or no?
Yeah. So that's a cool.
I know it's true, but I'm trying to make sure I'm not speaking out of turn.
No, you're good. That's a cool story.
What does Jeffrey Rupp do all day long?
Well, when he's not playing golf, no, I'm just kidding. So the story there, we mentioned Jeff and Eric earlier. They are the two directors of the Entrepreneurship Center. So Jeffrey was director of outreach for the College of Business. Eric was the director of the Entrepreneurship Center. Last year, we actually brought both of them over to Glow, which was really, really cool and kind of created a cool, kind of cap to that part of the story of they were the ones that really inspired us and got us going. And then Anna and I told them, hey, y'all got us into this mess. You got to come join the team and help get us out of it,
Yeah.
So, no, it's been great. Eric has a very, very good operational mindset. So he's really changed the game on kind of how we handle all things logistics. Glow Pals are now the fastest selling toy in Poland of all places. So that's pretty cool. Lots of, cool tidbits like that. And then, Jeffrey's over here running traps on figuring out what our next building's going to be once we outgrow our current spaces, and really working on, issues and things that are a few years out, but that we're going to hit at some point.
He's a great big idea guy.
He
was excellent without the government. I wish he was still in it because he was saying like, oh, if we do this, we need a bigger road to go to the park, and we need a bigger this.
That's right.
So a lot of the stuff that I've seen him and Lynn Sproul do have been big idea stuff. And it always helps to have somebody step away, and what a blessing when they were there from day one.
Absolutely.
To be able to go and still look at you with some wisdom and go, hey.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that too, because Jeffrey's someone that can see those through, right? You have a lot of things where you mentioned, the Board of Aldermen and Mayor in Starkville. They started on some of these projects like 5 to 10 years ago that are just now coming to fruition. And so we're kind of in the, what I'll call the messy middle. Our 182 renovation, our downtown renovation just started. But seeing that through, give it, another 18 months or so, it's going to be beautiful. And so that's
it teaches you a lesson in business too. So I've been here almost 20 years, and a month from now came after Katrina, and I drove by up the street here, and the bridge was still rusty and old. The Riverwalk wasn't here.
Yeah.
And they were bulldozing houses down here. And now Burns Dirt Development, which is doing the 82 project there, is trying to do a redevelopment thing here.
That's
and
awesome.
That's 19.8 years later, and they just finished fixing the bridge, and they're finishing the amphitheater. And it's hard especially when you're younger, to see like, oh, I can do this, and this will, like when I fix houses, I'm fixing them to be right for 40 years.
That's right.
I'm just duct taping and painting them.
Yeah.
And that helps so much in a business like yours where so how long have y'all been in business?
10 years actually.
So 10 years. I think I met y'all like 18 months in.
Yeah.
So, but in 10 years, you've essentially had 2 crises other than I've got to start a worldwide business. How do I build this? What do I do with my hands? How do I get there?
Yeah.
And so you're in the midst of one now. You survived the COVID thing and that sort of thing, but like you said, you're in a volatile thing. Have y'all licensed out the patents or anything? I remember we talked about fishing lures and other things that could be. Have y'all done that?
We haven't done that yet. We might with the book. So the book will have a really cool release. We're still working on it, but check out the end of September and kind of see where we're at. We're launching it in the beginning of Q4. So I'll keep you updated on that. But we have licensed Sesame Street, and we're doing stuff for Daniel Tiger. So Daniel Tiger is the successor to Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and so those have both been really, really successful. Actually, sometimes more in the international market than here in America, where they're both created, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we really that helped. Sesame Street came along first back in right around probably 2020. We had been doing the Glow Palace for a year or two. But that, collaboration with them was so cool, and they have a really big team, but for us to be able to work with them and for them to respect us, such a small team like us, was really cool. And so we are actually the exclusive license provider for all light up bath toys for Sesame Street, which it's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
well, that's cool. That gets rid of any. We just talked to Amy Bogue on our last podcast about imposter syndrome. Like at some point, we're like, I don't belong in this room. Like you're walking into the Congress and you're like, what am I doing?
Exactly.
I had that experience at corporate Papa John's where like the CFO and CEO had like one of them started Dunkin' Donuts, the other one started Wendy's, and I'm like sitting at the table like this, like I had no sudden movements, And
That's
you
awesome.
think you don't belong there, but like quite honestly, if I'm you and you've got like how many orders we get this month, and you're like $1 million is pretty good, and then you're like, but Sesame Street,
Yeah.
You're like, we making much on Sesame Street? Like, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Sesame Street,
that's right.
man. So, and I haven't checked up on the news. Did the recent public broadcasting thing hurt Sesame Street at all?
Well,
Not as a brand, but the show.
They moved over to Netflix.
Okay, so easy.
So they'll be. I think.
Yeah,
they'll be
it's
okay.
sort of like the. I have some friends who are in television production and stuff, and I asked them about Stephen Colbert getting cut.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's going to make a fortune.
Oh,
he's like, he'll be fired before the end of the year because his contract's till May. And they're like, oh no, they're going to get rid of him. He's bothering them too much.
Yeah.
They'll buy him out. He'll get enough money. He goes, but he can't leave now. But he's like, he doesn't need anything. He's like, he can just do what your podcast is. And, I mean, like every famous person, like they'll be much willing. It'll be cheaper for him to make, and he'll get to keep all the money, or he'll do what South Park just did. Or
yeah, and if they choose to keep him on, I mean, hey, he's got a free ticket to say literally whatever he thinks now, right? And
yeah, and that's what he's apparently been doing last week. So.
A year in public TV is a long time, So
Yeah.
we'll see what comes.
And that's the
of
thing is like that power. There's so many people understand that don't understand how little there is in the way for selling stuff. Like without the entrepreneurship center, you may have just gone on Facebook Marketplace and sold a bunch, and then somebody ripped you off.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? Like sincerely, could have been very easily. You could have had the perfect idea, and then somebody could have copied it. Imagine now, like 10 years later, with AI and all this other stuff, how easily they would be to steal your idea.
That's a big one.
And y'all have like. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have the patents are in place. You're safe.
Yeah, we have
for a while.
Probably 30 trademarks, some copyrights, and a few patents. But it's one of those, like, if someone wants to be blatant, they can still do it. And it costs time and money to go after some of those people, and we typically do. But just last month, we had someone on Amazon that was shipping kind of counterfeit product in of the little light up cubes, and had to go after them.
And Amazon's supposed to catch that. I know they
yeah,
it's just like Facebook until recently, about a year and a half ago. Facebook, like, I think they went from literally they only had 400 people reading your customer service emails. I would get like use rights things from like we'd put music behind a video for not selling anything, and then 5 years later. They would be like, the rights have been released, or I'd be like, hey, why am I banned on buying ads on Facebook?
Yeah,
or whatever, you know what I mean? And so now they've went from like 600 to like 9,000.
Oh wow!
And they're starting to realize like, hey, we should take care of our customers.
Yeah, Amazon's interesting in that way because you can report it, but actually, if you have a patent claim against someone on Amazon, you either have to already have an injunction against them, which means that if you're a small business, you've got to take it to federal court. Or you can pay Amazon $4,000 to basically mediate on your behalf. And so, like, man, Amazon has figured out how to monetize everything. That's
Yeah.
that's
We allowed this, but it
yeah,
wasn't us really. It
that's
was
right.
them.
I needed a part the other day for something, and I was like, man, I kind of missed the days of Radio Shack where you didn't have to wait 2 days to get something in to fix something.
Yeah, there's a little place, Military Hardware, the hardware store here.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Keaton who works there, and whenever I need anything kind of weird or something, I'm going to order off Amazon.
Sure.
I just text him.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it shows up on my porch the same amount of time. Like I was like, just you order it, and
Sure.
charge me the 8%.
Yeah.
Just so I don't have to go on there and see.
That's awesome.
See that again. And
Yeah.
there's some local businesses will do that, and some don't get it. You know?
Yeah.
So
cool.
functionally, this is the part where you can plug away. If they want to support you, where do they go? The website, or call your personal cell phone and tell you what they want, or what do we do?
I get so many spam calls, that probably isn't the best way. But if you want to learn more about the company, glow.co is our website. Very easy to remember. And you can buy the products at either Glow Cubes, glocubes.com, or the toys at glowpals.com.
Can they just walk into y'all's office and buy them?
No, we have so little space now that we have so much going on that we really don't have the front open anymore. But if you do buy and you're local, we do have free shipping. So anywhere.
What's the closest retail outlet?
Actually, right across the street at Merle Norman, Luna Bella, and Starkville has them. I think the Purple Elephant here. There's some other local retailers, and there's a store locator on both sites where you can see who's closest to you.
Well, good deal. Does it help if is there any information on your site about fighting against tariffs or anything like that?
Not on our site. If you want to read more about that or learn a little bit more on the supply chain, check out that book I mentioned earlier, How the World Ran Out of Everything. That's a really cool and insightful story that gives you a lot more detail than what I was able to share today.
Well, good deal, man. It's exciting having you in here. Like I said, you're the biggest thing to come out of Starkville in a while. So
I don't know about that.
Well, you haven't left, so you're still there.
Yeah,
but it's a pretty big operation, and it really shows the value of the school being there and the support of forward thinking that Jeffrey and them had starting that group. To, again, like I said, you could have had this phenomenal idea, and I had LaFon's Profits on here a couple episodes ago. He invented like a levitating clock.
Oh, cool.
But, back in the day, like 20 years ago, and to be on your nightstand and all that sort of stuff, and he had a utility patent and did everything right, and then somebody went after him saying one part of it you should have licensed for me, and if he had done it right, you don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
But if you're just a normal guy, like, no offense to any attorney in our area, but they're probably not high level patent attorneys.
Yeah.
And like I know one guy in New Orleans is, and he's like, $6-7 grand just to think about it.
That's right.
Because you don't realize, like, if I tell you you're clear, you still may get the patent, but the patent might not be right. And then, like I said, you got to fight it. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the efforts and you trying to keep as much money as you can in Starkville, Mississippi. And I'm sure everything else will work out. And so is there a drop? Like if the tariff drops tomorrow, does it affect you? Does it help you in 3 weeks, in 3 months, or as far as shipping and the boats?
It takes a while. I mean, production in China, we've kind of tried to ship more of that to Europe, so it would take some time to get some of that going again. And we are looking at what we can do here stateside, but it's not easy. The batteries that are in our products, literally the only place in the world that they're made is in Asia, either China or Taiwan. And so you do something and you spend all this time and the money to make it here, and then you still have your least common denominator that keeps it from being a functional product.
Dead center of your product.
That's right.
You need to assemble it because it's right there.
And a lot of people, that's the part that's kind of hard to explain sometimes. It's like, man, if I could do it tomorrow, I totally would. It's just not viable. We got to have the Apples and the Samsungs and the Googles that have these billions of dollars to invest. And then you have, offshoots of their factories that are feeder facilities to make those products. And then we can work with one of those to make, some of our downstream
There's
stuff.
a large contingent of the conservative, Republican Party that is saying, let's focus on big time manufacturing, focus on the high dollar stuff first.
Yeah.
And the problem is that high dollar right now intersects with Tesla, with AI, and AI now it's going to be energy production.
Yeah, that's right.
And which has to be here essentially.
Yeah.
But that's what they're saying is like, well, we want to get these big companies come here like Apple and that, but they literally can't.
Yeah.
And then it catches the little guys. You're a medium guy on the rankings, but like you're not little, but
well,
like
towards the bottom, but
the toy scale, like you're little.
And the having the workforce is the other part. I mean, even in this area, it's just really hard to have, and it's no fault of, I don't think generationally, but I think we gave a lot of that up, 20 years ago, to send stuff overseas because it was easier. And now we don't have people. There's no one in this region that does industrial tool and die making for injection molding. So there's some facilities. There's one that we've toured up near Tupelo, and you know what they told me? They said, we can make your plastic part here, but you know where the plastic comes from? China. You know where the tools come from? China. We actually will take your specs, we'll ship them to China, the tool will come over, and we have a worker that will load the machine. And so
I can do that myself.
Yeah, exactly. We've been looking at buying injection molding machines, but it's just one of those. It's tough because it's a whole lot more of a complex problem than some people realize.
Okay. Well, I hope you shed some light on it today. I appreciate you coming. And
absolutely.
Thanks for being on the podcast. We'll see y'all next week.
Awesome. Thanks.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my day job is real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you just want to sit and talk real estate in a no-pressure situation, I'd love to help you. I work with RE/MAX Partners in Starkville, Columbus, and West Point, Mississippi. I can help you find an agent anywhere in Mississippi or anywhere in the country. Just reach out to our office at 662-327-7705 or find me anywhere when you type in 662-329-SOLD.